Have you ever wondered if the misfortunes piling up in your life are really just accidents? One setback you can blame on chance. Two, maybe on timing. But when the same pattern keeps repeating, your health falters, your energy disappears, relationships collapse, and nothing seems to go right. You start to feel it. Something unseen may be working against you. Throughout history, cultures across the world have warned of curses, intentional projections of dark energy meant to weaken, isolate, and dismantle. You don't need to believe in them for them to leave their mark. Like poison in water, their effect seeps quietly unnoticed at first until you're already consumed by it. And that's what makes them dangerous. You can dismiss stress, blame circumstances, or call it bad luck. But if you never question deeper forces at play, you leave yourself wide open. The Stoics taught that the wisest warrior is not the one who denies the battlefield, but the one who prepares for it. Marcus Aurelius himself reminded us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. If dark forces exist, then awareness isn't fear, it's armor. In this video, we'll uncover 5 unmistakable signs that someone may be directing destructive energy toward you. These are not vague superstitions, but patterns you can observe in your body, your mind, your relationships, and even your environment. Once you learn to recognize them, you'll no longer walk blind into danger. You'll see the attacks for what they are, and you'll know how to shield yourself with strength, clarity, and the discipline of Stoic philosophy. Let's begin. Sign 1. The heavy shadow, energy drain, and night attacks. The first sign of a curse is not always visible in your outer life. It begins within. You wake up feeling heavier than when you went to bed. Your body aches without explanation. Your energy evaporates as if someone siphoned it during the night. No matter how much you rest, you rise with a weight pressing down on your chest, and the day feels impossible before it even begins. This kind of exhaustion is different from ordinary fatigue. Stress fades with time. Hard work restores with sleep. But this drain clings resistant to rest. It's often accompanied by restless nights, strange dreams, or sudden jolts awake at the same uncanny hour, sometimes 3 in the morning, the so-called witching hour noted in many traditions. You may feel watched in the darkness, as if unseen eyes are fixed upon you. Consider the story of Marissa, a teacher known for her kindness. When jealousy grew among her colleagues, she began experiencing nights of paralyzing dreams. In them, shadowy figures pressed against her chest. She awoke drenched in sweat, unable to breathe. Soon her days mirrored her, nights drained, anxious, unable to focus. Medical tests showed nothing, but her intuition told her something was intruding. Only after practicing cleansing rituals and rebuilding her spiritual defenses did her vitality begin to return. The Stoics did not speak of curses in these terms, but they understood the importance of guarding the inner fortress. Epictetus said, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus has the power to break my freedom of choice." The attack may aim to break your body through fatigue, or infiltrate your mind through nightmares. But your true power lies in how you respond. If you recognize the pattern, you stop blaming yourself. You stop calling it laziness or weakness. You see it as an external intrusion. And with that awareness, you take back control. When you wake consistently exhausted, when night terrors rob you of peace, don't dismiss it as chance. Awareness is the first shield. By naming the shadow for what it is, you stop it from silently feeding on you. The Stoic discipline of clarity becomes your defense, allowing you to rise even when darkness presses hardest. Sign 2, chains of misfortune. Uncanny streaks of bad luck. Everyone experiences setbacks. A missed bus, a failed project, an argument with a friend, these are part of life. But when misfortune begins to pile up in ways that defy probability, something deeper may be at work. It feels as if life itself is conspiring against you. The moment one problem ends, another begins. You fix the car, but suddenly lose your wallet. You secure a new client only for the contract to collapse over trivial details. Doors that seemed wide open slam shut in your face one after another. This relentless cascade is often reported by those who believe they're under a curse. And what makes it eerie is not just the frequency, but the precision of timing. Just as hope rises, it's dashed. Just as progress builds, it collapses. Like an unseen hand arranging events to keep you trapped in despair. Take Daniel, a skilled carpenter. For years his business thrived. Then, after a bitter dispute with a jealous rival, a strange streak began. Tools broke one after another. His workshop flooded despite clear skies. Clients canceled without reason. Each incident could be explained, but the pattern was too sharp to ignore. When every path forward ends in the same wall, logic alone cannot explain it. The Stoics acknowledge that fortune, good or bad, often lies beyond our control. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." In the face of sudden misfortune, the Stoic response is not fear, but vigilance. If repeated obstacles appear, you must ask, is this merely chance, or is something external seeking to bind me? Awareness sharpens your resilience. You stop internalizing the setbacks as signs of your failure, and instead see them as challenges to outlast. A chain of misfortunes is not proof of weakness, but a test of clarity. If you're struck down again and again, don't surrender to despair. See the pattern, recognize the interference, and remember, while curses may aim to break your outer world, only you decide whether they reach your inner one. Sign 3 Night. Intrusions and disturbing dreams. When darkness reaches for your mind, it often does so at night. Sleep, which should restore strength, becomes another battlefield. You close your eyes hoping for peace, but instead, you're dragged into dreams that unsettle you long after you wake. Figures chase you rooms, collapse around you. Voices whisper words you can't quite remember, but leave behind dread. These aren't the usual stress dreams. They feel invasive, like someone else has entered the private space of your subconscious. A common sign is waking at the same uncanny hour, often 3 in the morning, long called the devil's hour across cultures. You jolt awake, heart racing, certain you're not alone. The room feels charged, the shadows heavy, as if something lingers unseen. You may even feel the pressure of a presence on your chest. The inability to move, a phenomenon modern science calls sleep paralysis, but which many traditions recognize as a sign of spiritual intrusion. Consider Leah's experience. A devoted mother and pragmatic woman, she laughed at the idea of curses until she began waking nightly at 3:07 a.m. Each time she saw the same cloaked figure at the edge of her bed. At first, she told herself it was stress, but when her daughter began crying at the same hour from terrifying dreams, Leah realized it was not coincidence. Only after cleansing rituals and grounding practices did the nightly intrusion cease. The Stoics would frame this not as ghosts, but as discipline of the mind. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Such as are your habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind." If your nights are poisoned by fear, those fears can seep into your days. The true danger of these intrusions is not the dream itself, but the erosion of clarity leaving you anxious and unsteady when you're awake. If your sleep is consistently invaded by disturbing dreams or unshakable presences, do not dismiss it too quickly. Guard your mind as a fortress. Use awareness as your shield. And remember, though, the night may be where shadows intrude. Your discipline determines whether they linger or vanish with the dawn. Sign 4. Broken bonds and sudden isolation. Curses don't only target the body or the mind. Sometimes their sharpest weapon is isolation. You find yourself cut off from the very people who once gave you strength. A friend suddenly grows cold. A partner withdraws without reason. Family members misinterpret your words, turning affection into hostility. It feels as though invisible hands are severing the ties that anchor you to stability. One fracture might be explained away as miscommunication. But when relationship after relationship unravels without clear cause, the pattern becomes undeniable. It is as if an unseen force is whispering between you and others, twisting trust into suspicion and sowing conflict where none existed before. Take the example of Jonathan, a quiet man with a loyal circle of friends. After a bitter fallout with a jealous neighbor, he began noticing changes. Invitations stopped coming. Friends avoided his calls. Even his closest brother accused him of arrogance over words he never spoke. One by one, the bonds he had built for years dissolved, leaving him surrounded by silence. Jonathan later discovered symbols of malice placed near his property, ritual tokens meant to sever ties and isolate him from support. The Stoics understood how deeply we rely on our social bonds. Epictetus reminded his students, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, do not let the opinions of others define your worth. When dark forces seek to cut you off, their aim is to weaken your spirit by convincing you that you are alone. But a Stoic sees through this illusion. You may be physically isolated, but your inner strength is never at the mercy of others. Isolation is painful, but it can also become a crucible. When stripped of external validation, you are forced to discover the depth of your own resilience. If your bonds collapse suddenly and without reason, do not despair. Recognize the possibility of interference and stand firm. For while curses may sever connections, they cannot sever your will unless you let them. Sign 5. Intuitive warnings and bodily reactions. Long before the mind understands, the body often knows. You walk into a room and the air feels heavier, your chest tightens, or an unexplainable chill runs down your spine. Logic tells you everything is normal, but instinct whispers otherwise. This is often the final line of defense against a curse. The raw intuition that something unseen is pressing against your spirit. Physical reactions can be subtle, but powerful. Sudden headaches when entering a particular place, waves of nausea around certain people, or goosebumps with no change in temperature. Children and animals, still untouched by the numbing filters of adulthood, are especially sensitive. A baby may cry inconsolably in one room, but not another. A dog may growl at an empty corner, refusing to step forward. These are not coincidences. They are signals. Consider Elena, a nurse who prided herself on rational thinking, yet she couldn't ignore the way her body reacted whenever she visited her sister's new home. Her heart raced, her stomach churned, and her cat hissed at shadows. At first, she dismissed it as stress. But when her health declined and sleep was broken by whispers she couldn't trace, she realized her instincts had been warning her from the start. Cleansing rituals later revealed hidden objects buried beneath the floorboards, items placed to channel malice. The Stoics taught us never to dismiss the impressions of the mind too quickly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." Truth, however, is not always visible. Sometimes it comes as a quiet nudge, a bodily warning that refuses to be silenced. The Stoic doesn't give in to paranoia, but neither does he ignore the subtle signs of danger. When your body and instincts cry out, pay attention. Don't drown them in excuses. Awareness does not mean fear, it means preparation. These intuitive warnings are like storm clouds on the horizon. If you heed them, you can protect yourself before the storm breaks. If your heart pounds, your skin crawls, or your instincts scream without clear reason, treat it as a signal. Strengthen your defenses, guard your space, and most importantly, hold firm in your clarity. For while dark forces may seek to frighten you through instinct, the Stoic within you transforms that awareness into armor. You've now seen 5 powerful signs that someone may be directing destructive energy toward you. These are not random inconveniences, they are warnings. To ignore them is to walk blind into danger. The Stoics remind us that the true battle is not against what happens to us, but how we respond to it. Protect your mind as your fortress. Guard your peace as your most sacred treasure. Cleanse your environment, sharpen your awareness, and refuse to surrender to fear. And if you're ready to deepen that strength even more, the next video lined up by YouTube isn't a coincidence. It's your next step. Click it now while this knowledge is fresh. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to stay grounded, protected, and empowered every step of the way.